makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Broken glass everywhere, people on the stage, you know they just don't care. I can't take the smell, can't take the noise. Got no money to move out, I guess I got no choice. Rats in the front room, roaches in the back, junkies in the alley with the baseball bat. I tried to get away, but I couldn't get far, cause a man with a touch repossessed my car. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. Standing on the front stoop, hanging out the window, watching all the cars go by, roaring as the breezes blow. Crazy lady living in a bag, eating out of garbage bales. Used to be a bag hag, such a that's the tango. Skipped the life of Dango, a so-called princess, seemed to lost her senses. Down at the peep show, watching all the creeps, so she could tell her stories. Took the girls back home. She went to the city and got so diddy. She had to get a pitch, she couldn't make it on her own. Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My brother's doing fast on my mother's TV. Says she watches too much, it's just not healthy. All my children in the daytime, Dallas at night. Can't even see the game or the Sugar Ray fight. The bill collectors, they ring my phone and scare my wife when I'm not home. Got a bomb education, double digit inflation. Can't take the train to the job, there's a strike at the station. A new arcane car standing on my back, can't stop to turn around. Broke my sacroiliac, a mid-range migraine, cancer to membrane. Sometimes I think I'm wrong and say, I swear I might hijack a plane. Don't push me, call, I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle sometimes, it makes me wonder how I keep from going under. My son said, Daddy, I don't want to go to school because the teacher's a jerk. He must think I'm a fool. And all the kids smoke reefer. I think it'd be cheaper if I just got a job, learn to be a street sweeper. I dance to the beat, jump for my feet, wear my shirt and tie, and run with the creeps. Because it's all about money, ain't a damn thing funny. You got to have a car in this land of milk and honey. They push that girl in front of the train, took her to the doctor, sewed her arm on again. Stabbed that man right in his heart. Gave him a transplant for a brand new start. I can't walk through the park cause it's crazy at the bar. Keep my hand on my gun cause they got me on the run. I feel like an outlaw, broke my last glass jaw. Hear them say, you want some more? Living on a seesaw. Don't push me, call, I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. Say what? It's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how I keep from going under. It's like a jungle.
Yes, we are right here at KBF 88.3 FM listening to Community Voices with your host, the Reverend Dr. Denise. I'm rolling solo in terms of not having a co-host today because the pastor, Tony Orr, is still out of the country. I'm not sure when he will be back, but he is still out of the country doing the work that he does. And so those of you who are always thinking about him, those of you who are always concerned about him, if you are connected to him, reach out and check on him and see how he's doing. Make sure that he's okay, because I don't know. But I'm sure that he will be. Oh, he might not even be back on Thursday. I think Thursday is the health corner. If that's the third Thursday of the month, then the health corner will come up on this week. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know. But I do know that I am grateful that you are here right now for this pre-recorded show. This show is not live. It is pre-recorded. So that means the phone lines are not open. The phone lines are not open. That does not mean that you cannot comment. You might want to share your comment with Charles in the office. All you have to do is dial 501-372-6119. Again, that's 501-372-6119. If you want to leave a comment with Charles in the office, he'll be more than happy to take it down and get it to us. Or you can send it by email. KABF. No. Charles at KABF. Yeah, Charles at KABF.org if you want to email your comment. Or you can hit me up, 228-236-7440. Be more than happy to hear what you have to say as a result of this show, because after all, we would not be here if it were not for you. We are ever so grateful for your consistent presence in this space. We just celebrated 40 years of KABF 88.3 Live, 100,000 watts, one of only 12 local community radio stations. That's 100,000 watts, and we would not be here if it were not for you. So we are thankful for you. We are always grateful for however you show up, in the many ways that you show up. We cannot say thank you enough. But even though I do not have Tony in the studio with me, I do have a special guest. Woo-hoo! But you have seen her before. You know her. You should know her by now. And I want to just take a moment and allow her to greet us this morning and tell us whatever she wants you to know about who she is in this space before we keep going with our EJI tidbit. Hey, Diedra.
Hey, Denise, thank you for having me on again. Who am I? Well, actually, I'm Denise's friend, one of the people that she expounds her wait a minute, one of the ones that you pontificate to.
That is
Yes.
true. That is true. That's fair.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's all you're gonna say? Okay. I want to get our EJI tidbit in, and I do want to say, Diedra, that I told you before the show that there was one EJI tidbit that I was going to mention because I wanted to give you as much information as you needed to have this conversation. But then I thought about who you are in terms of being a native of Chicago, right? Weren't you born in Chicago?
Yes.
Okay, you're born in Chicago. So I'm going to switch the EJI tidbit on you. I know I'm throwing it at you, but I know you can handle it. You might even know about it. That's what made me think about it. So I want to give us the EJI tidbit for today. We are grounding this conversation in Grandmaster Flash. He's saying, don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. That's probably my favorite part. And so he's saying, don't push me. So here we are living in this world where we are living in a caste system, where we have relegated people to certain positions in society based on race, based on class, based on gender, based on white inhumanity, that system. And so because of that, many of us are already living on the edge in terms of we're dealing with a whole bunch of stuff already. The last thing we need is somebody else to put some more stuff on our plate because it just might push us over. And what does that pushover look like? You never know, because you don't know the person, you don't know the situation, you don't know where you're coming in on what they're going through. And so we have to figure out a way to make sure that we are living a life that allows folks to relax and to be comfortable and just to enjoy their existence. And that is hard to do for many of us because of these systems of domination and oppression and power and exclusion. And so that's what Grandmaster Flash is asking us to think about. And then this EJI tidbit comes from 1983. A lot of people ask me all the time, why you got to talk about what happened in the past? And many times I kind of get it. I'm like, well, I can see what they're saying because it's in 1800s. Maybe they cannot connect the dots, even though I can connect them clearly. But what happens when we're talking about 1983? That was not too long ago. So on Monday, November 18th in 1983, Chicago police beat, electrocute, and threatened to castrate James Cody, one of more than 100 Black men the department systematically tortured over 3 decades. Let me just say that again. On November 18th in 1983, Chicago police beat, electrocute, and threatened to castrate James Cody, one of more than 100 Black men the department systematically tortured over 3 decades. So here we have Commander John Burge, that was his name, and he took over when he became the chief of police or the commander of the police department. There were some police officers who had gotten killed for whatever reason. And so he decided that he was going to go on this torture-led campaign to then now try to torture and to terrorize Black men in particular. And what he was doing, he was using all of these different methods to make sure he forced confessions from these people. And there was a letter that was written to the Attorney General by someone detailing what had happened in the case of James Wilson, which happened before John Cody. And they didn't, I guess they didn't, well, not I guess they didn't believe him. They didn't want to believe him. They chose not to believe him. And these tortures continue. But the only way that they could have had this letter was that it had to be written by somebody who was watching this. And so over the course of these 3 decades, over 118 Black men were convicted based on these false confessions. And then even in 2015, after John Burge is he's convicted, he's not convicted of torture. He's not convicted of white inhumanity. He's not convicted of any of those things. He's convicted of perjury. That's what he's convicted of, because they waited until the statute of limitations had passed before the district attorney decided to do anything about it. But yet in 2015, there are still over a dozen people who were incarcerated based on these false confessions that were still in prison, some of them on death row, because their cases had not even been reviewed. And so when we talk about don't push me because I'm close to the edge, these kinds of shenanigans that happen on a regular basis, that happen systematically, this commanding officer could not have done this if he did not have power over his officers who were executing his violence for him because of his position. It could not have happened if he did not have the go-ahead, or he did not have the relationship with the district attorney that allowed him to get away with this, because they knew what he was doing, because they had a letter from somebody who saw it. So this systematic way of oppressing folks, this systematic way of keeping racism alive pushes us to the edge, and we've got to be careful, because we don't know how it's going to manifest when somebody says, hey, I've had absolutely enough. I'm not doing this anymore, and you're not going to continue to treat me this way. And so I wanted to just get us rooted and grounded in this conversation, and first see if you have any response to the song or the tidbit, and then we'll go from there.
Actually, that just kind of took it to the point that we were going to talk about in the first place, which was we need to remove ourselves from these systems. There is no fixing it. I actually looked at Little Rock, well, the sheriff's truck that they drive around and driving new inmates and people that are going to be incarcerated. And it says on the back of it, I think it says since 1813. So are we sure that the policies have changed? Probably not. They've probably been amended, but something that was so horrific as capturing people. You've already kidnapped everyone and brought them here, and then enslaved them and made them do awful, awful types of labor. And then when they are free, or when they get free, you send these patrollers out. This is where our police came from. So what did they have to do? What did they amend, or did they throw those rules away and start something? No, it just organically grew to you're still killing us. Okay. One of the things that when we were pushing for Black Lives Matter, I remember on my Facebook page, I just want the police to stop killing us. That's it. Nothing else. And we had the argument with some people of the same color that said, but what about black on black crime?
This is not a thing, by the way. Black on black crime is not a thing. It is yet another myth to dehumanize Black people as if we are the only ones who are violent. We're the only ones who kill people that are of the same race. They try to make us out to be monsters when Black people do not kill Black people at any higher rate or for any other reason than any other population.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they also don't talk about things like, why are white people more apt to be serial killers or some type of sexual offender? Why they don't do that? Nothing's even. And that's why I'm saying, even the media, there's the media industrial complex that works for anti-Blackness. Okay. Clearly, from your radio to your TV, the whole thing. Your radio does not have to play everything that's calling us, the words that they call us. every song has to be about some type of drug or some type of sexual act or anything. There's plenty of music out there that doesn't say any of this. We need to remove ourselves from that. I get, and each time I say something like this, it's always this backlash about what we can't do. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. If anyone has been to my house, you are not listening to radio music. Okay.
So I mean, we be having a good, and it's subliminal too, right? Like we'll be in the middle of a conversation, and all of a sudden everybody just kind of break out, hey, because we're hearing some jazz. I mean, you play some beautiful music. That's absolutely correct. You remind me of my mom sometimes because my mom had this tendency to walk into a room. Listen to me, walk into a room, which means she was not in the room. She would walk into the room and say, "Hear what I said?" And we would all look up like, you just walked into the room. What you mean? Hear what I said? But then she would continue a conversation that she was already having or had already had with us at some point in time, or maybe something that she was thinking about in her head. And so she would just bring us in on the conversation that was already going on within her body. And you remind me of that because a lot of times when you show up on the scene, we be like, "Hey, what's up, Diedra?" And you just burst and say, "What do white people own?" So we're like, you just walked in the room and you started this conversation that has already been at work in your body. And so that is one of the things that I find fascinating. And then the conversation we just jump from one thing to the other, which is another reason why we have to connect these dots. So when you say that you're looking at this sheriff's car vehicle that's transporting people who are about to be incarcerated, then let's connect the dots back to 1813, as you said. Then this goes back to the system of enslavement when police that we know now derived from the slave patrols. And so this is a dot. So this is a dot that we can connect. We can draw a straight line, not a zigzag line, not a curved line, not an ups and down line, a straight line from that system to the system that we have now. We can also connect that to the 13th Amendment, where it still allows for you to have slaves as long as you call them criminals. So when you look at the mass incarceration rates in the disparities with Black folks, it is again a straight line from you having the system of enslavement where you want free labor and you want it at the expense of Black bodies. That's exactly what you are getting in the prison industrial complex today in 2024. So we have to draw these lines and we have to say there is something systematic. There is something in place, like Dr. DeGroote said, that is designed. This is designed to keep you as the lowest member of the caste system. And so I hear what you're saying. You're like, okay, well, if we know that it's designed to keep us as members of the caste system, why don't we defect? Like, why don't we defect? Why don't we disengage? Why don't we divest? And my question to you, Diedra, is, do you think that people know that they are complicit in the very system that has its foot on their neck?
I think that there's like it's like it's not even brainwashing because they know, but they can't. It's like if I think about it, I'll go over the edge. Okay, that is if they really go into knowing that it is really crazy to send your children to public school. Okay, okay, if they know that the Department of Corrections, their annual report looks like, well, it looks like a farm report. This is how many tons of this they grew. This is how many things they made in workshop. It's unbelievable. And so with Grandmaster Flash saying, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge," it's if I really think about this, I have the information, but I got to push it back so that I can go day to day, because this is a capitalistic society. So I got to go day to day and deal with this. Don't push me to the edge talking about this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I don't want to talk about, and then I think about a conversation we had also where I said something. I can't listen when it comes to you. I can't remember how we get into the conversation. Something leads us here, but I asked a question about when we talk about Black production, when we talk about the things that Black people are able to innovate and create, continue to innovate and create, because we've been doing it from the beginning.
Yeah.
But I asked you the question, like, why is it when you think about the celebrities, when you think about Snoop Dogg, when you think about Beyonce, when you think about Jay-Z, when you think about these other people, like, why is it that when they decide to create something, once they have gained a national platform, why is it that they create liquor? Remember, I asked you that. I was like, why are we creating liquor? Do you remember your response? Your response was, whoa. That's what they show us that's being created, right?
Absolutely.
Things are being created. We're innovating in different ways. But what the media, you going back to what you said about the media being complicit in anti-Blackness, what they show us is that Black people are only concerned about liquor. And I thought about that when you said, don't push me because I'm close to the edge, because I don't want to think about these things. I'm going to push them to the back. I'm also, the world, the system of white inhumanity also wants to lull you away from thinking about it. So all of these liquor stores that you have in your neighborhood, then you are now drinking. So you're not thinking about what's really going on in your life because you are using the alcohol for so many reasons. But one of them is to deal with the edge, right? I'm on the edge. This is one of the ways that I deal with it. This is one of the ways that I cope, and I can find liquor on every corner. Another way that they do it is to put the church on another corner. Well, I don't want to drink alcohol because the Bible said you don't need those spirits in you, right? And so instead, Jesus is going to be my liquor. Jesus is going to be my elixir. The Holy Spirit is what's going to make me high, because that's what it talks about in the Bible. Be high on the Holy Spirit, right? So all of these different ways to get us to not think about the fact that we're living on the edge is what is put in front of us. And again, it's a trap.
Absolutely. And I think, if you think about it, what could you do if you lived during the time of enslavement? Okay. And you literally had to be out in Arkansas in the field in the summer. Okay. You had the choice of do this or die. Basically, what are you thinking about? What is there to think about?
All
It's
I'm
a
thinking about is living.
It's 102 degrees outside. Okay. Okay. And you're actually doing hard labor for 12 hours. So, so one of the things that Denise, my phone is about to go out.
What? Plug it up.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I'm just telling you that
Off. Okay.
you can fix it.
Not my camera. I cut her camera off. I'll let her go until she comes back. I'll make sure that she comes back and she can be on the screen with us. But one of the things I'm going to mention to Diedra, wait, now don't let me start that before she gets back. But she was talking about being in the field, like, what are you thinking about? And at first I said, I'm thinking about living. I'm thinking about getting through this. And since I'm the one who introduced religion, which is what I often do, because I do believe it is killing us. I absolutely believe that the way we have been indoctrinated to understand this white Jesus is killing us. Do I believe that God, a force that's bigger than us, that many people believe in, that is powerful, that can ignite us on the inside because we are connected to this power source? If you believe in God in that way, in a broader sense, do I believe that God is killing us? Absolutely not. But the God of the Bible app that we are using as Western Christians, in Western Christianity, absolutely, I believe that it is killing us. And so when I think about what was it that was keeping many of our ancestors alive during the system of enslavement, the answer is hope. Now, if you want to paint that hope as a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes, that's something that you've done to corrupt their spirituality. But they believed that there was something bigger that could deliver them from this situation. They believed that there was something stronger than the forces that were at work in their realistic lives, in their reality, their lived reality. They believed that there was something beyond this kind of torture, beyond this kind of existence, beyond this kind of dehumanization, beyond this kind of humiliation. They believed that there was something greater that they could strive for, that they could reach for. And they believed that one day they would have it. And to now say that that is a white man with blonde hair and blue eyes who died on the cross just for you, so that you can go from being the slave of this white man on earth to the slave to being a slave to Christ, who is now this spiritual being, is it's quite offensive. It's beyond offensive. I cannot even think of a word. Like, I'm highly perturbed by that kind of theology that says you are a slave to Christ and this is your Christ and this is what it looks like. And so for us to continue to be complicit in these systems that do nothing but take advantage of us, that do nothing but make fools out of us, to be honest, because we're so busy trying to get it right with Jesus that we are so heavenly bound that we're not any earthly good. That's what I heard a pastor say one time. And that was years and years ago, and I still believe that. And so the system of religion, the system of education, the system of capitalism, like all of these systems are in place to keep us as Black folks in particular, but to keep us as people who are of different gender. Like if you are a woman, then you are in a class. You're part of the caste system. If you have your sexual orientation, your gender identity is not in line with heterosexism, then you are on a caste system. Like there's so many different levels of what's happening to oppress us that we don't stop to take the time to say, wait a minute, am I involved in this? Like, am I perpetuating this? Like, how am I doing that? And what are the ways that we can divest from these systems? And the number one way that we can divest is to, first of all, acknowledge that there is a system. Who was that? It was another pastor. I can't remember who it was. I know John C. Evans, Reverend John C. Evans was the one who said, you're so heavenly bound, you're no earthly good. I can't remember which pastor I was listening to that said, the thing that what happens, the greatest weapon that the devil has is to make you think he doesn't exist, right? And so he was using this to say that that's why you don't recognize the enemy at work in your life. And so it was all about religion. It wasn't about God. It was all about religion, trying to get you to be scared of this force so that you could live into this works righteousness. If I work hard enough, God would love me. And that's not the way to get into heaven, but that's the kind of shenanigans that's being used by these systems to keep us complicit. And so we cannot divest from our complicity if we don't, first of all, acknowledge that there are systems in place. There's Diedra.
Yeah, I'm not at home, so it was a moment to find the cord.
Exactly. Oh, as a matter of fact, I probably need to stop this. Hold on. Oh, wait. I probably have a couple. I need to stop because in order for it to be a smooth thing, we got to take a little break, but I'm coming right back. Yes, if you are just now tuning in, you are listening to KABF 88.3 FM Community Voices with your host, the Reverend Dr. Denise, and our special guest, Diedra Levi. She spelled her own name wrong, but that's okay. It's Levi, L-E-V, as in Victor I. And so she is here with us as our special guest on today. And we are talking about the need for not just Black folks. This conversation on Community Voices is always centered in Blackness, but it's centered in Blackness in the context of the human story, which includes all of us as humans, as well as the whole of creation. So everybody is impacted by this conversation, whether the world identifies you as Black or not. But we're talking about how Black people in particular and the whole of our society must divest, must disengage, must dismantle these systems of oppression, domination, and exclusion, because they are pushing us all to the edge. And we're not going to this is not a sustainable way of living. It is not sustainable at all. And we are, when I tell you we living on a thread, we are on a thread. It's to the point where we are tattered at the end. It's about to break. Like these are dangerous times. So yeah, Diedra, that's where we are. Do you have something? I can't remember what you were talking about before you left.
I don't either. But I mean, you can look at health disparages. Now, we've already found out that racism is a public health problem. Okay.
When you say you've already found out, what do you mean? Who we and how did we find out? How did we find out?
Let me change that statement to there is empirical evidence that shows. Okay.
Honestly, I think that's better, right? Because some people, when you say we, they're like, who is that? Where you can? And then they discount it, especially if it's coming out of a Black woman's mouth, right? So let's not talk about what you believe. Let's not talk about what you say. Let's talk about what we know from the evidence, because it proves it. Go ahead.
Right. We know that racism is a public health issue. Okay. You've got to understand that there's a reason that there's disparities in so many of the ailments in folks? Why is it that Black folk are going to, it's the morbidity rate in everything is higher for Blacks. There's been a lot of conversation about infant mortality at this point. Why? Okay, because we are not treated as humans, because we live in a white, inhumane world. Period.
And why are we not treated as humans? Again, we can connect the dots to the books that were the medical books that were originally written, right? They were written using our bodies, using our bodies as guinea pigs, basically, with no anesthesiology or anything like that, and creating these myths around our bodies, creating these myths around our pain management, creating these myths around all kinds of things about us. You put it in a book, then you use that book to teach people, and then you institutionalize the book as the textbook for people to follow. And to this day, those same myths are still being utilized in the healthcare profession now. So the disparities that you just mentioned, again, straight line.
Absolutely. And you know, in Chicago, there is the Museum of Science and Industry, which used to be free. It's no longer free. And we would go quite often. And there was this one area where they were dealing with medical things, right? And there is a human being that is sliced in like half-inch slices all the way, and you can see each slice of the person. Guess what color the skin on it is?
I would venture to say Black, but I've never been.
Absolutely. This is the degree in which they care not about a Black body. Okay. I'm not sure if it's still there. You know, I haven't been back to Chicago, especially that museum, in a long time, but it was there for years. For years it was there. I can't help but go to the school system.
I was going to ask you, because your shirt says Wakanda, and then it says School of Science, and so I was thinking about that.
Wakanda University.
Wakanda
So
forever.
I can't understand why today, when we know what the children are being taught, is basically lies over and over again, you know, to the point that if you try to tell them the truth, now the government is going to get in and do sanctions on you, you know, like you've really committed a crime. And this goes for both Black and white. Okay. I'm very clear on it being white. Racism in education hurts you too. Okay. Because you don't know the truth and you're standing up on falsehoods, period. Also, you know that there is a school to prison pipeline. Okay. No one is being disciplined in schools like little Black kids are. You know, you talk smart to the teacher. It used to be, okay, this was a long time ago. You held out your hand and they took that ruler and popped the crap out of you for doing something wrong. It's no telling what will happen to you. The police could body slam you. We've seen it. You know, the police can have you arrested as a 5-year-old in handcuffs, okay, without your parent being there. They're torturing the kids, okay. We talked about the police briefly, but think about this. They are killing your kids in the street, laying their bodies in the street. And you still call 911 for something? Not a good idea. Okay, they don't care. So, yes, you push all of this stuff to the back of your head so that you can function to get through life. I don't know if, as you said, it's not sustainable at all.
No, and you keep saying we know that there's a school to prison pipeline. We know, and so I wonder, because I don't know if everybody knows, right? Because I think that that's what segregation does. I think that's why you have people who live in gated communities. What is the point of the gated community? I don't think the point of the gated community is to keep people out. I think the point of the gated community is to keep you in, right? I want to be insulated. I want to be away from, I don't want to see the poverty. I don't want to see the unsheltered. I don't want to see the food districts. I mean, the food deserts. I don't want to see any of those things. I want to live in this bubble, and everybody where I matriculate, everybody, either they don't necessarily look alike, because there are Black people in these places, there are non-white people in these places, but we all think alike. We're all on the quote unquote same level. We all are in the same class. And so here we are operating like la-di-da. And the reason I can say that is because growing up, I did not know. I didn't know what the projects were. I didn't know where they were. I didn't know anybody who lived there because of the circle that my parents were operating in. It wasn't until I became a teacher, and that's after my first master's degree. So 1996, graduated high school in 90, graduated college in 94, started teaching, and then went to because of my master's degree, I had to teach in a teacher shortage area in order for my master's degree to be paid for, right? Like that was the agreement. You teach here, you don't have to pay for school. So here I am in Yazoo City, Mississippi, never been there before, and I've got students coming in who had not eaten, did not have access to breakfast. I'm like, what you mean you ain't had no breakfast, baby? We ain't had nothing to eat in the house. Like, what are you talking? Wait, what now? And what? And then later on, as I continued to teach, they started instituting a policy where teachers could not even offer students food in the classroom because it was against the policy. If they missed breakfast because they were late for whatever reason, oh well. And so I'm not sure that everybody is aware of these things that are happening, because if you're not directly impacted by it, you have the means, you willfully segregate yourself from it. Who's having those conversations in your house? Who's having those conversations at your dinner party? Who's having those conversations at the country club?
Denise, I'm not sure that I agree with that. I think the majority of Black people are aware of the disparities in each one of.
You mentioned white people. You were like, white people expect you too about and so that's what I know. Black people know we live it.
Right. Okay, so if in that particular thing, which was education, no, I'm convinced, especially after the election, that they do not know the danger that they keep themselves in because of their whiteness either. I don't. So yes, I agree.
So then how do we do this? So we're back to this. Your whole point, your whole premise, the way I understand it, is that we've got to divest from these systems. I cannot divest from a system I don't recognize. And then when you have people, and I think this is poor people regardless, poor people who make it. I'm putting make it in quotation marks because I'm not sure how you make it in this society, because if you say, well, I have enough money to have my own home, and yet you have no savings, like how far have you made it, right? Like if you say I have enough money because I drive a luxury car, but then you don't have, if something goes wrong with your car and you're not able to get it fixed, like how much have you made it? So I'm using quotations about I've made it. So poor people, when they decide that they've made it, it seems like the making it portion of their lives renders their past invisible. So I no longer remember what it's like to be poor. I no longer remember what it's like to live this kind of existence, because now I'm over here. So you people are invisible to me now. I don't want to talk about being poor. I don't want to talk about my living conditions. I don't want to talk about the way I was raised. I want to reinvent myself into this situation, this experience where I'm closer to whiteness. And so even though I'm aware of the system because I lived it in a certain way, now it's like, well, that doesn't apply to me. All you got to do is work hard. And if you work hard, you'll be like me and you'll no longer be poor.
I I don't think that they actually I think that that's part of that cloak that everyone puts up. They know exactly where they come from, and there are traditions and parts of the culture that carry over. I don't care where you go. Okay, now if there is a system about this poor and making it, okay, it is because your leadership never says the word poor. Have you ever heard the word poor come out of a president's mouth? Don't worry, I'll wait.
I'm like,
No, you have never. You hear middle class, okay? Because
uh,
you're right. Because then you're admitting that there's a problem. Now we talk about inflation and everything. That inflation it affects somebody that has something. The poor has nothing. So what's inflated?
mm,
Okay, so
I don't know. Well, first, let me go back to, have I ever heard a president say the word poor? We talk about middle class. We don't talk about poor. But I want to just bring in I also want to bring in the religious piece, because the religious piece, there's a verse in the Bible that says, the poor you will always have with you. And because of the way that we have been indoctrinated to believe this verse, because I can give you the truth about the verse, but the way that we've been indoctrinated is you don't really have to worry about the poor because they are relegated members of our society. We expect them to be here. We expect them to be part of our lives. You can basically overlook them as part of the system according to Jesus. That's the indoctrinated way of understanding that. And so it may be, is it possible that you think that people are like, well, we ain't really got to mention the poor, because that's a given that you're going to have poor people. It's really nothing you can do about that. That's just the way things are. So let's focus on middle class.
do I think that that's how it's set up? That's why the president never says the word. No, no. You know how I feel about Mount Olympus and coming up with certain terms, okay? And if you name something, then you can
Control it.
control it, okay? Poor would have to go out. If the president says it goes out globally, okay? And surely the home of the free and brave cannot have poor people. With all of these folks trying to get into this country, well, how could they have poor people here? Now I know they have poor people in Africa, because they showed me those little shanty towns and the huts and things of that nature. Okay, but here in America, poor.
Well, see, this goes back to where was I? I was having oh, I know. I'm interested in going to culinary school, and so I apply. I sent out an inquiry online, and the young lady called me to set up this kind of application interview process to see if I would be a fit, the school would be a fit, blah blah. She found out that I was from Mississippi. She also went to school in Mississippi, so we connected at VI Love at Jackson State University, and then she went on to talk about she was wondering about my family, like, are you going to see them soon, because it's almost Thanksgiving. I said, ma'am, I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. She said, what? I said, I don't celebrate these lies, not anymore. Now that I'm grown and I'm aware and I'm conscious, I don't do that. She was like, not even Christmas? I was like, ma'am, did you hear me say I don't celebrate holidays because they are all lies, and I am conscious and awake and I do not do that? She's like, well, what does your family think? I was like, ma'am, I am grown. It does not matter what my family thinks. I refuse to celebrate these holidays. And she could not grasp within her mind that she was talking to a person who intentionally has divested from the lies and the myths of holidays, which I know for a fact, and I know you know, are rooted in the system of capitalism, right? Do you know how much money we spend from the very beginning, from New Year's to Valentine's Day to St. Patrick's Day to Easter to all of what comes after Easter, 4th of July? It's like every Father's Day, Mother's Day, now we got Grandparents' Day and Siblings' Day and all of these things to get you to spend money. Halloween, Christmas, all of these things are designed, and they tell you this story. They source it in the Bible, and now all of us are like all up in arms. Oh, I've got to do this. And when I ask parents, why do you continue to teach your children this? They're like, well, I know it's a lie, but I don't want them to feel bad because the other children in school are doing it. And that's another reason why I feel like we cannot hold true to what you are asking us to do, which is to divest from the complicity. It's because we're worried about being liked. We're worried about being accepted. We're worried about being as close to whiteness as possible. What are they going to think if we don't do this? Who cares? Well, apparently we do, and we care a lot.
Yeah, well, we have been complicit, and we indoctrinate our children so quickly into living in the world of lies. You do it with the tooth fairy, you do it with Santa Claus, which, Santa Claus equal Jesus, because if you're good, this will happen. And if you're bad, that'll happen. So it, at
It's
some point,
enslavement, right? If you're a good slave, then you're going to go to heaven. If you're a bad slave, you're going to go to hell.
right, right, right. So we're complicit to our children in their developing years to understand lies. Even the fairy tales and the books we read to them, lies, 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 and then you want to spank a child when it lies to you. That doesn't even make sense.
I do this. I play this game on my phone called Cryptogram, and it's one of those
Mhm.
things they have these spaces and there are numbers under each space, and you've got to figure out which letter matches the number, and then you go through. They only give you like 2 clues, and when you finish, you've got a quote from somebody. They tell you who the quote is from. There's one that says, I think it was Phyllis Diller, I can't remember, but it says we spend the first 12 months of a child's life teaching them to walk and talk. And then we spend the rest of the time telling them to sit down and shut up. That's what she said.
Yeah.
And we just said that made, so you teach them to lie, right? You traumatize them with the lies, because I still remember when I learned that Santa Claus was not real. And my brothers were like, you so, Dwayne, not the middle child, it wasn't my older brother, Dwayne. You so stupid. Look, we were in the house and he said, do we have a chimney? Do you see a chimney? We ain't have no chimney. It crushed me, right? And I think a lot of people are traumatized by that. And to me, I think that's the first lie that children realize their parents have told them. And then now, as you say, but then when they lie, oh, now they've done something wrong. Like it just doesn't, our existence doesn't make sense, because we have to keep the system of why humanity has to keep turning and keep all of these different iterations to fix what they're trying to fix. Like once somebody realizes it doesn't make sense, they're like, how can we make this make sense? And so then here we come with another iteration to make it make sense. And it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And and I know, cognitive dissonance is a thing now to say and everything, but that cognitive dissonance that you experience in your body from having two opposing beliefs in your head, okay, about the same thing, that disrupts your chi and everything, and that could be part of that racism thing that is a public health crisis. Why we have high blood pressure? Because I have to listen to this BS right here, knowing this is the right thing to do right here.
Yeah, when you say cognitive dissonance, I couldn't help but think about the founding fathers, right? It really bothers me, especially for Black politicians, to talk about our great founding fathers and this wonderful document that they came up with in the Constitution and then the Declaration of Independence. I feel like it's just political rhetoric. Like, again, cognitive dissonance. Surely as a Black person, you know that this is not a great document. And so to me, this is the very first example that we have that's documented in the Constitution, where you say all men are created equal. You write those words as you have slaves, right? As you hold slaves. So how is it that you can say that all men are created equal while you are a slave holder? How is that possible? And again, the way that it's possible is that you have to make it make sense. How do I make it make sense? Well, these cannot be men. These people who are slaves cannot be men. They cannot be persons. How do we do that? We're going to reduce them to being 3/5 of a person. And that's so that we can figure out how to count them and get to the electoral college, which is what we just dealt with in this past election. Again, these are straight lines of dots that we can connect. And so we do that all the time. We have to keep making up stuff. Why do your parents, why did my dad, he hated lies. One of the reasons he hated lies, well, we don't have to get into that, but what he was talking about was, if you tell one lie, you got to tell another one, right? You got to tell another one to fix that lie. Then you got to tell another one to fix the lie before that. And before you know it, it's just a web of lies to the point where you don't even know what's real anymore. because you've lied so much. And that's the way that the world has conditioned us. Many of us don't even know what's real anymore. Like race, that's not real, y'all. That ain't real. That's somebody that made that up, right? This Jesus, somebody made up. Like all of this stuff, and we give ourselves over to it. And I'm not going to say freely here, Diedra, because one of the things that we talk about all the time, and I do end up saying, I confess it all the time. I was complicit in this system of religion, and I don't fault myself at the beginning because I'm a cradle Christian. Like if you grow up and this is all you know, then do you have a choice? Are you intentionally choosing this, or are you being conditioned and programmed into this?
I think by the time that you probably went to seminary, it was already so twisted in your head if you read the first few sentences, you're like, oh, something wrong. Can't nobody be writing this. Okay. So sometimes it's a problem when I say the Bible is fairy tales, you know.
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. And this conversation, I feel like that's what it's all about. So let's bring it because I'm looking at the clock, like we run out of time. So let's bring it back to the very beginning where we see Grandmaster Flash says, "Don't push me because I'm close to the edge." Why? Because based on the EJI tidbit, you've got systematic, institutionalized racism that is at work in our lives. It's at work in our lives to create an existence that is intolerable and non-sustainable. And it is happening right before our very eyes. And we continue to perpetuate it through acts like the election that we just saw, regardless of what color, because it was not just white people voting for Donald Trump. Let's not get that twisted at all. Like there were non-white people, there were Black people who voted, and you voted for this system of white inhumanity. So it continues to be, so we're continuing to perpetuate it. And so Diedra, you're asking us to divest from this complicity, to say we don't have to live in this system. We can create a new system, a system that's just, a system that is equitable, a system that is that is inclusive. We can do that, but only if you are willing to say, I'm living a lie, right? I mean, how else can you do it?
I think one of the things that you said was absolutely true. When there are hard times, which most of us are expecting hard times after January of 2025, that should give you the push for a separate type of system that you create that's more palatable, okay, and more to your likings. And what you had said was when you had Jim Crow and things going on like that, that's when we created things like Black Wall Street, Greenwood, and things of that nature. Here comes the opportunity again.
Here comes the opportunity again. I hope we take advantage of it. Thank you all so much for joining us for Community Voices. This has been a pre-recorded show with Diedra Levi. Thank you so much. We cannot wait to talk to you soon. Bye.